Welcome back to Scott Swing Sports Day, ladies and gentlemen. We are back and ready to rock and roll today. Let's get right into the picks for the bowl season. First up in the Makers Wanted Bahamas Bowl, starting off on Friday. Should be a great game to start off the bowl season, as it will be Buffalo and Charlotte in the Bahamas Bowl. I'm going to go with Buffalo to get the win here. I feel like Buffalo's had a better season than Charlotte has, so I'm going to go with Buffalo to get the win here over Charlotte.
If you're Buffalo and you have the chance to go from Buffalo down to Charlotte in the wintertime or down to Bahamas in the wintertime, I think you're pretty darn excited. I'm taking Buffalo in this one.
Next up in the Tropical Stability Frisco Bowl should be another good one.
It's a tough name.
Next up, Utah State and Kent State. I'm going to go with Utah State to get the win here. Better quarterback play out there at Utah State. Jordan Love has looked very good. I wouldn't mind seeing him under center for the Bucs next season. I will go with Utah State to get the win in the bowl game against Kent State.
You know, if Kent State gets into a bowl game, there's just too many bowls. Utah State's going to win this by a touchdown.
Next up, Central Michigan and San Diego State in the New Mexico Bowl. I'm going to go with Central Michigan. They've looked very good this season. I think they lost last weekend in the conference championship game, but I don't think that'll matter here. Give me Central Michigan to get the win here over San Diego State in a pretty good game.
I think San Diego State's going to win this one. That team travels really well. Not. But they're still going to win because it's on the West Coast. Give me San Diego State to beat Central Michigan.
Next up, Liberty and Georgia Southern in the FBC Mortgage Cure Bowl. Should be a great game right here at
It's not enough names.
Now it's at Exploria Stadium now here in Orlando, not at Camping World this year. They're now doing it at the Orlando City Stadium, which I found very interesting. I'm going to go with Liberty. They've had a good season. I'll go with the Liberty Flames to get the win here over Georgia Southern in the Cure Bowl.
I'm going Georgia Southern. I think they're the team that beat Appalachian State, if I'm not mistaken.
Might have been.
But anyway, I like Georgia Southern to win this ball game.
Next up, SMU and FAU should be a good game here in the Boca Raton Bowl. Even though it's a virtual home game for FAU, they don't have their head coach Willie Taggart yet. I'm going to go with Shane Buechele and to SMU to get the win here. Representing the American Athletic very well, and they'll get the win here on the road against FAU.
SMU could have easily gone undefeated this year. They lost some really close games. I think SMU gets this game and wins pretty handily.
Next up, FIU and Arkansas State should be a good game here. I'm going to go with FIU. Butch have a great coach this year, good team. Got a big win against Miami a couple weeks ago. I'm going to go with FIU to get the win here over Arkansas State.
Arkansas State's one of those teams, for some reason, they play really well in the bowl games. In fact, they beat UCF a few years back. I'm going Arkansas State here. I got a feeling.
Next up, Boise State and Washington should be a great game here. Give me Washington to get the win here. Jacob Eason in his final game at the University of Washington. I think he'll have a good game. I'm going with the slight upset. Give me Washington to get the win here in the Las Vegas Bowl over Boise State.
I'm taking Boise State. I think the team that wants to be in that bowl the most is the most motivated, typically wins. I think Washington's going to feel like they had a down year. Boise State playing Washington, I think they're going to get the win here.
Next up, App State and UAB should be a great game here. I'm going to go with App State to get the win here over UAB. Should be a great game in the RL Carriers New Orleans Bowl. I will go with App State to get the win here over UAB. Should be no problem here. App State's been a very good team all season. I'll go with App State to get the win over UAB.
I agree. I think App State's going to play with a chip on their shoulder. They feel like they've been under-recognized all year. They've got a chance on a national stage to beat UAB, and they'll beat them handily.
Next up in the Bad Boy Morris Gasparilla Bowl should be a great game on Monday, December 23rd. Should be a great game. UCF and Marshall. I'm a little bit worried about this game because I don't know how ready UCF's going to be. I don't know how excited they are to be in this bowl game right now, to be here. But I think UCF's going to win this game, and they will cover that 17-point spread here. I'll take UCF to win this game by 21 to 28 points. I'll take UCF over Marshall in the bowl game.
I agree. I don't know if UCF's going to cover. They haven't covered that many times this year, but I think they'll beat Marshall by 2 touchdowns. I think UCF's just the superior team.
Next up, Hawaii and BYU should be a great game in the Hawaii Bowl. I will go with Cole McDonald to win his last game at Hawaii. I think he'll do very well this week. I'll go with Hawaii to win a virtual home game against BYU in the Hawaii Bowl.
If this is at a neutral site, I would take BYU, but I agree. At Hawaii, give me Hawaii in this one.
Next up in the Walk-Ons Independence Bowl, Louisiana Tech and Miami. The Handy Mannies, I think, will end their first season off very well here. I'll go with the Canes to get the win here over Louisiana Tech. Should be no problem here. I'll go with Miami over Louisiana Tech in the bowl game.
Miami's been like a Jekyll and Hyde team. They've been up and down. Who knows which team's going to show up, but I agree. I think they'll beat Louisiana Tech here.
Next up, Pitt and Eastern Michigan should be a great game at Heinz Field at Ford Field in Detroit in the Quick Lane Bowl. I would go with Pitt. Pitt had a good season this year. They made the entire nation happy when they beat UCF back in September. They made the entire nation happy. Everybody wanted to see it, and they finally got it. I'll take Pitt in this bowl game against Eastern Michigan.
I agree. I think Pitt's a good team. For the ACC, they're a quality team. I think Pitt gets a win.
Next up, the Fighting Mac Browns and North Carolina head into the Military Bowl in Annapolis, Maryland, to take on the Temple Owls. Thank God UCF didn't get this bowl game because we would have had to play North Carolina to start the year next year. So I'm going to take Temple to get the win here. Temple's had a very good season. Even though I do like the quarterback play of North Carolina with Sam Howell, I'll take Temple to get the win here over North Carolina in the bowl game.
It's a tough one to pick. I really do like Temple, but North Carolina has been a really good team at times. Depends on which North Carolina team shows up. But I'm going to take UNC in this one. I think the UNC team that gave Clemson a tough battle is the one that shows up here.
Next up, Michigan State and Wake Forest should be a good bowl game. I'm going to go with Wake Forest. Wake Forest has had a very good season. In my opinion, probably the second best team in the ACC this year. I'll go with Wake Forest to get the win here over Michigan State.
I think this game is going to expose how weak the ACC is. The fact that Wake Forest is actually like the second or third best team in the ACC, and Michigan State's maybe like the seventh or eighth best team in the Big Ten. I think Michigan State gets the win here.
And sorry I missed it. That was in the New Era Pinstripe Bowl, all the way in Yankee Stadium for that one, so that's be a good one. Next up in the Academy Sports and Outdoors Texas Bowl, it will be Oklahoma State and Texas A&M. Should be a great game here. I'll go with Kellen Mond and Texas A&M here. I think the Mullet will not get a bowl win this year. I'm going to go with Texas A&M to get the win here over Mike Gundy and his Oklahoma State Cowboys.
This is actually probably the first good matchup of the bowl season. I think two teams that underachieved a little bit. I think both teams could almost beat anyone on a given day. I'm going to take Texas A&M as well. I think it's going to be a really good game, though, like a field goal kind of game.
Next up, USC and Iowa, two top 25 teams playing against each other in the bowl game in the San Diego County Credit Union Holiday Bowl from San Diego, California.
That's not enough names.
I'll go with Iowa. I think Nate Stanley's going to play well. Kirk Ferentz always has his team ready to go in bowl games. So I'm going to take Iowa to get the win here over USC.
Now, Iowa is a team that does travel well. I can tell you that from personal experience when they came down to the Citrus Bowl. Iowa was going to be more excited to be in this game than USC. I think Iowa gets the win. They probably win by 10 points.
Next up, Air Force and Washington State should be a great game here in the Cheez-It Bowl from Chase Field in Phoenix. Give me Air Force to get the win here over Wazoo. I feel like Air Force has had a very good season coming out of the Mountain West. They've looked very good this season. I don't think Mike Leach is getting a bowl win this year. Give me Air Force to get the win here over Washington State.
I agree. Air Force is one of those teams that's really tough to match up against if you don't play that kind of offense week in, week out. I think Washington State will struggle stopping Air Force, and I like Air Force in the win.
Next up, Memphis and Penn State, the first of the New Year's Six bowl games on December 28th in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl from AT&T Stadium in Arlington. If Mike Norvell was coaching this game, I probably would have taken Memphis. But because he's not there for the bowl game, I'm going to take James Franklin and Penn State to get the win here at home in the bowl game against Penn State against Memphis. I think Penn State's a better team than Memphis is, so I'm going to take Penn State in the bowl game over Memphis.
I agree. I think it'd be tough for Memphis to get focused, losing their head coach, and Penn State has been a pretty darn good team the last 3 years. I like Penn State to win this one.
Next up, Notre Dame and Iowa State should be a great game here. I'm going to go with Ian Book and Notre Dame to get the win here. I feel like Ian Book looks very good this season for Notre Dame. Two good losses. They lost to Georgia, and I believe they lost to Michigan. Two pretty good losses out there on the schedule for them. So I'll take Notre Dame to get the win over Iowa State in the bowl game.
I agree. I will say that Iowa State plays really good teams tough, so it would not surprise me if Iowa State keeps this game close, but I agree Notre Dame will get the win.
And this will be the second of 3 bowl games here in Orlando, and the Camping World Bowl should be a good one there. Next up in one of the first of the 2 semifinals, as it will be number 4 Oklahoma heading into the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl to take on LSU in Atlanta. Give me Joe Burrow and LSU to win this game easily. I feel like Oklahoma has an offense that can keep up, but their defense will not be able to stop Joe Burrow. I expect him to win the Heisman by easily tomorrow night in New York. So give me Joe Burrow and LSU to get the win here and move on to the national championship game. So give me LSU over Oklahoma.
I agree. I think Oklahoma, since they started the playoff system, I think Oklahoma is one of the weakest 4 seeds that they've had. They kind of backed their way into this. LSU's an awfully good team. I think LSU's going to win by 2 touchdowns.
Next up, Ohio State and Clemson in the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl from State Farm Stadium in Glendale. I'm going to go with Trevor Lawrence and Clemson. Dabo Swinney is going to be really upset after where they're ranked right now. I thought they should have been higher all season as the reigning defending national champions. I will take Clemson to get the win here over Ohio State. If they can shut down Chase Young, I feel like they will win this game, and I think they will do just that on that offensive line for Clemson. So I'm going to take Clemson to get the win over Ohio State.
I actually think Ohio State's a little better team, but Clemson seems to own Ohio State. And I think the last 2 times they played, they beat them really bad. I think Ohio State's going to have a chip on their shoulder, but I still like Clemson in this game just because they seem to have Ohio State's number.
Next up in the Capital One Orange Bowl, Florida and Virginia, 2 teams that I thought should have been in the conference championship games this year. From Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, I'm going to go with Cal Trask and Florida to get the win here. No problems here. Virginia just doesn't have a good enough offense right now to hang in there. Their defense will keep it close for a little while, but I'm going to take Florida to tire out that defense and get the win in the 4th quarter. So give me Florida over Virginia in the Orange Bowl.
Honestly, Florida was pretty lucky to draw Virginia as their opponent. I mean, ACC was really down this year, so I'm happy with the matchup for Florida. I think they should get the win here by at least 10.
Next up, Western Kentucky and Western Michigan should be a great game in the First Responders Bowl from Dallas, Texas. I'm going to go with Western Kentucky. They've looked very good this year. I'm going to go with the Hilltoppers of Western Kentucky to get the win over Western Michigan. They got absolutely pummeled last week by FAU. I don't think they'll do that this week. Western Kentucky gets the win over Western Michigan.
I wonder if this is the first time in bowl history 2 Westerns have ever played each other.
I know, yeah.
Because there's not that many of them.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to go the other way. I'm going Western Michigan. I think if you get killed by an FAU team that's not that good, you're not that good. I like Western Michigan.
Next up, Mississippi State and Louisville should be a great game here in the Franklin America Mortgage Music City Bowl from Nissan Stadium in Nashville.
Only 9 names in that.
I'm going to go with Louisville. They've been in my surprise team of the year. I'm surprised they're here. I didn't expect them to be in a bowl game this year. I'm going to take Louisville to get the win over Mississippi State.
I agree. I think Mississippi State is average team. Louisville has overachieved. I think Louisville continues to overachieve and wins this one by a touchdown.
Next up, Cal in Illinois in the Red Box Bowl from Santa Clara and Levi State in Levi Stadium. I'm going to go with probably the best beard in college football right now. That would be Lovie Smith in Illinois. They got a huge upset earlier on in the season against Wisconsin, and I expect them to keep that momentum going. They've been on a roll as of late. I think Illinois will keep it going and get the win in the bowl game against Cal.
It's been a long time since Illinois has been in a bowl game. I think they'll be very motivated, and I think that the Big Ten is just simply better than the Pac-12. So give me Illinois in this one.
Next up, Virginia Tech and Kentucky in the bowl game should be a good one from in the Belk Bowl from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Just one word, Belk Bowl?
Unfortunately, for my buddy Terry Jewell, I am not picking Kentucky in this game. I'm going to go with Virginia Tech. They've looked much better this year than Kentucky has. They don't have their starting quarterback. Would I be shocked to see Kentucky win this game? Absolutely not. I would not be surprised to see Kentucky win this game. But I'm going to go with Virginia Tech to get this game, to get this win. If Kentucky had an easier opponent in this game, I would have happily taken them. But I'm going to go with Virginia Tech in this game to win a close one against Kentucky.
You know, everything, logic, numbers dictate Virginia Tech gets the win. But Virginia Tech doesn't have one thing, and that's a fan by the name of Terry Jewell. Terry Jewell is going to will this Kentucky Wildcat team out of the SEC to the upset win, and they're going to beat Virginia Tech. Give me Kentucky.
Next up, Florida State and Arizona State in the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl from Phoenix and from El Paso,
Is that
Texas.
the name? Tony the Tiger?
Yeah. Give me Herm Edwards and the Sun Devils to get the win here over the Noles. I feel like Herm Edwards has had a very good season. Got two top 25 wins under his belt this year. One against Michigan State earlier on in the year, and then one against Oregon. I'm going to take Arizona State here. They've looked much better this year with a young rookie quarterback in Jaden Daniels. Looked very good. I'm going to go with the Sun Devils to get the win for my boy Clintus and get the win over Florida State.
I agree. Again, it goes down to which team wants to be there the most. Florida State had a very disappointing season. They'll be on a down. They changed coaches. Arizona State's very excited to be there. I think Arizona State gets a win.
Next up, Navy and Kansas State. Navy's got a chance to get to 10-2 tomorrow against Army. Give me in the Liberty Bowl. I'm going to go with Navy. I think Navy's got a better team. It's hard to work with that triple option. So I'm going to go with Navy to get the win over Kansas State. Even though Kansas State did put the only L on Oklahoma's record, I'll go with Navy to get the win over K-State.
Scott mentioned the very reason I'm going to pick Kansas State. Kansas State did beat Oklahoma, a quality team. Kansas State tends to play well defensively. I think they'll be able to shut down Navy's attack and get the win.
Next up in the Nova Home Loans Arizona Bowl from Tucson, I will go with Wyoming and Georgia State. Give me Wyoming. I feel like this Wyoming team looks very good this year. This is probably their first good year in a while. Give me Wyoming over Georgia State in the bowl game.
I'm going the other way. I'm going to go with Georgia State, and I can't really tell you why.
Next up, Utah State. Utah and Texas in the Valero Alamo Bowl from San Antonio, Texas. Virtual home game for the Longhorns. Give me Sam Ehlinger and Texas to keep it going. I think they'll get a win over Zach Moss and Utah. So give me Sam Ehlinger and Texas to get the win over Utah in the bowl game.
Utah was absolutely embarrassed the last time they went out. I think they have something to prove. I think they'll be playing with a chip on their shoulder. I think Utah gets the win.
Next up, Minnesota and Auburn, two teams that made it to a pretty good season. Minnesota kind of surprised me with PJ Fleck this year. Give me Tanner Morgan and Minnesota to keep it going. They'll bounce back after that loss to Wisconsin. I think they're a better team than Auburn is, and I think they'll prove it. Give me Minnesota over Auburn in the Outback Bowl.
I think the SEC is just a better conference than the Big Ten, and I think Auburn is a better team than Minnesota, despite their records. I think Auburn's going to get the win here in a close one, though.
Next up in the VRBO Citrus Bowl from right here in Orlando at the Citrus Bowl at Camping World, it will be Michigan and Alabama. Tough game to pick here. If Tua was in, I would say absolutely go with Alabama. But I'm still going to take Alabama and those receivers and that talent. Too much talent here. And I don't think Jim Harbaugh knows how to beat good teams. So give me Alabama to get the win over Michigan.
It's really a marquee matchup that the Citrus Bowl is drawn. I mean, Michigan and Alabama, two of the most storied programs in football history. So they're very, very fortunate. But I agree with Scott. I think Alabama's too good in every other position. And I think Michigan tends to lose to good teams.
Next up in the Rose Bowl. Oregon and Wisconsin. Give me Jonathan Taylor to get his last big game in right here. I'm going to go, give me Oregon, actually. Justin Herbert's going to have a good game. I think Oregon will get it done over Wisconsin in the Rose Bowl.
I'm on the fence like Scott is. Like, this is a tough one to pick. But I think at the end of the day, Oregon's going to have too much offense for Wisconsin, and I think they'll be able to shut down Taylor on the running attack. I'm going to take Oregon in a close one.
Next up, Baylor and Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. Georgia's right back where they were last year in the Sugar Bowl, and they got absolutely humiliated last year by Texas. And they're going to lose again to a Big 12 team this year. No, I cannot trust this offense to put up enough points this week. I mean, this could be a low-scoring game, but I'm going to take Baylor and Matt Rule, probably one of my coaches of the year this year in the Big 12. I'm going to take Baylor to get the win over Georgia.
If I had an opening right now, I would hire Matt Rule tomorrow. Great coach. But I think Georgia has more athletes. I think Baylor's going to get exposed in this game. I think Georgia's going to win, not because of their offense, but defensively they're going to get a couple turnovers and win this ballgame.
Next up in the Ticketmaster Birmingham Bowl from Birmingham, Alabama, Boston College and my buddy Stephen Battle's beloved Cincinnati Bearcats. I'm going to go with Michael Warren and Cincinnati to get the win here. Two great running backs in this game, Michael Warren and A.J. Dillon. Watch out for those two running backs. But I feel like the quarterback play of Desmond Ridder is going to be too much. Give me Cincinnati to throw the ball against Boston College and get the win over BC.
I agree. I think Cincinnati has had a better season. I think they're overall a better team. I like Cincinnati in this one.
Next up, Indiana and Tennessee in the Taxler Gator Bowl. I made a promise to one of my best friends on Facebook, Kurt Esser, that I would take Indiana in the bowl game, and I will do just that. Give me Indiana to get the win over a pretty bad Tennessee team. I'm going to take Indiana over Tennessee.
I didn't even know that Tennessee qualified, honestly. I didn't even know they had enough wins. Yeah. Despite the fact that I'm wearing Tennessee colors, I agree with Scott. I'm going with the Hoosiers. I think they've had a great season. They'll be excited to be there. Give me Indiana.
Most wins since like the 90s for Indiana this year. Very impressive.
Very impressive.
Ohio and Nevada are next in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl from Boise, Idaho. Give me Nathan Rourke in Ohio. I feel like Nathan Rourke's going to find a way to get the win here. Give me the Bobcats in the Potato Bowl over Nevada.
It's a well-coached team in Ohio. They got Frank Solich, the former coach for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. I'm going to take Ohio as well.
Next up, Southern Miss and Tulane in the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl from Fort Worth, Texas. Give me Tulane. Tulane's a very good team. They almost beat UCF this year if it wasn't for that kick landing on that guy's led that one game a couple weeks back. Give me Tulane to get the win over Southern Miss.
I agree. Tulane is an undervalued team. I think Tulane gets the win.
Next up, Louisiana Monroe and Miami, Ohio in the from Mobile, Alabama. Give me ULL. I feel like Monroe's looked very good this year. No, my bad. Louisiana Lafayette and Miami, Ohio. Give me ULL. They looked very good. I believe they won their conference this year. So give me the Raging Cajuns of ULL to get the win over Miami, Ohio in the bowl game.
I know nothing about ULL, but I see their favorite with Vegas. That's good enough for me. I'm going ULL.
Yep. Next up in the national championship game, Clemson and LSU.
You agree on that?
Give me LSU. Too much offense. Joe Burrow's going to lock himself into that number one spot. If I were him, I wouldn't even play well in this game because I don't want to go to Cincinnati. I'm going to go with Joe Burrow and Ohio and LSU to get the win over Clemson and get the Cookie Monster his first national championship as coach. So give me LSU over Clemson.
I'm going the other way. I think LSU's defense has been disappointing this year, and Clemson, they play really well in big games. They put it to Alabama. They have a chip on their shoulder despite the fact they're undefeated. No one thinks they can do it. They think they're overrated. I think Clemson is going to upset LSU in the national championship game.
And that will do it for this episode of Scott's Weekend Sports, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be back next week with my NFL picks. And maybe some Premier League soccer picks next week. And I'll be back right back here next week on Scott's Weekend Sports right here on YouTube. See you later, guys.
See you guys.